Hello there everyone, in this video we will learn 5 little known Photoshop selection tricks. With these tricks you can get a quicker and a better selection. We'll be using 2 examples to demonstrate these selection tricks. Let's first start with this one. To select something quickly, we can use the select subject. Select any selection tool and at the top you will see select subject. Click here and Photoshop will select it automatically. By the way, this isn't the trick here. We're gonna learn few tricks to refine it. Now with the selection active, click the mask icon so that we can have a transparent background. It looks okay with the transparent background, but let me create a white solid. This way we can see the selection clearly. Let's zoom in. You see the edge areas are not perfect. We can fix it in a few ways. Go to Filter, Other. Here we'll select Minimum. Minimum pushes the pixels inward and Maximum does the opposite. In this case, we need Minimum. While using this effect, make sure the mask is selected, not the photo itself. Anyway, when you increase it, you see those jagged edges are fixed. Here you can pick a square or roundness. In this case, the roundness works great. One advantage of minimum and maximum filter is that you can use a decimal number. For this picture, 2.5 will do. But also it has some disadvantages. When you use minimum, every edge areas will be pushed in. But sometimes you may want only some areas to push in. For example, the cloth areas looked okay. We only wanted it in the body areas. One way to fix it is to first select those areas that you want to push inside and then use minimum. But still, it's not the efficient way. There's a better way to do it. For this, first we need to active the selection. Hold Ctrl command and click the mask. It will make the selection which we already selected. Now go to Select, Modify, Contract. Contract will reduce the selection and expand as the opposite, just like minimum and maximum. Here we want to remove those jagged edges or those extra areas, so we'll select Contract. Unlike minimum, here we only put whole numbers, but 2 pixels will work great here. Now with the brush tool and foreground color black selected, if we now paint, the inside will be removed, but we want the opposite. So we need to invert the selection. Press Ctrl Command and Shift and I to invert the selection. Now we can paint to remove only the areas that we want. There's one more way we can do it. Press Ctrl Command and D to deselect. I will press Ctrl Command and Z few times to undo. We can use the Smudge Tool to remove those jagged edges. Let's keep the strength to 50%. Now slowly click and push those edges. It will remove those jagged areas. Still, there are some areas that need to be fixed and we cannot just use minimum or contract or a smudge tool. We need to do it manually with the brush tool. We can use the brush tool and paint it with black to remove it. If we can see the original background, then it will be easier to fix it. Hold Shift and click the mask, then the mask will be turned off temporarily. But this isn't what we wanted. We want to see the selected areas and also the background so that we can perfect the selection. There's a way to do it. If you double click the mask, it will open the mask properties. Now if you reduce the density, you will start to see those masked areas. This density slider is like the opacity of the mask. Since now we can see the whole picture, we can now add or subtract any areas properly. Once you are done, then you can increase the density to 100%. Let's go to our second example. Here we have a coffee cup. If you look closely, then you will notice some areas have sharper edges and some have blurry edges. That means some areas are focused and some are not. If you try to select it with the select subject, then it will not give you a good selection. Let's try it anyway. See, this is not usable at all. Press Ctrl Command and D to deselect. In this type of case, we need to use the pen tool. Using the pen tool isn't the trick here. I need to select it first to show you the trick. Anyway, with the pen tool, click one point here and then another point here. We'll make a path around the cup. If you click a point and drag, then you can bend the lines. If you hold Alt Option and then you can move the handle, and if you hold Alt Option and click the point, then it will remove the front handle. I explained more about this in this video, so I'll just quickly select it. Once you are done, go to the Path panel. Double-click on the Work panel and name it anything to save it. You don't have to save it, but it's a good practice. Okay, now with the pen tool selected, right-click and make selection. If you want, you can add some feather. Now with this selection active, click the mask icon. We have a transparent background now. If you remember, the bottom areas have sharper edges. It looks fine here, but the side and the top were not focused and thus they have blur. But right now, every edge have sharp edges. So we need to fix that. We could add feather while making this selection, but that wouldn't work since we only want some areas to have blurriness. If we double click the mask, then we can add some feather from here. But we have the same problem. The feather is added all over the place. If we add some blur from the filter menu, then the same problem remains. We don't want any blur in the bottom areas. Let's go back by pressing Ctrl Command and Z. To fix this type of problem, we need to use the blur tool. Select the blur tool and only paint where you want the blurriness. Make sure the mask is selected. We don't want to blur the main photo. If you hold Alt or Option and click the mask, then you can see it clearly. Just paint the areas where you want the blur. Let's create a solid color so that we can see it clearly. Now we have a perfect selection. Okay, let's go to our final example. This trick works sometimes and sometimes it doesn't, but I wanna show you this. In this photo, the edge areas are kinda blended in to the background, so select subject doesn't work very well. I'll make a duplicate so that we can compare. Press Ctrl Command and Z to make a copy. Let's use select subject first. You see, it's horrible, right? But what if we can see more? We need to make more separation from the background. Let's create a curve and increase the brightness. Now we need to merge everything. Press Ctrl, Alt, Shift and E to merge everything on a new layer. Now we can use this select subject. Let's turn off this layer, we don't need them anymore. With the original layer selected, click the mask icon. It's not a perfect selection, but if you compare it with the original one, then you will see it's better. The hair looks much better here. If I go inside the mask, then it will be clearly visible. This one is the original one, and here is the mask with the curve. Obviously, it's a better selection. Let me show you a bonus trick. If you select the brush tool and change the blend mode to overlay, then you will only paint in the dark or in the bright areas. For example, if I select white and now paint, then I can only paint in the bright areas. No matter how much I paint in the dark areas, it won't paint. Similarly for dark areas, if I select black and then you can only paint in the dark areas. This way you can refine the hair. Great! So these are the 5 lesser known selection tricks in Photoshop. Hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new from it. Like, share and subscribe for more tutorials. Thanks for watching.